Out. I think I hit the
Uh,
right record button. Last week I hit the wrong button and it didn't record. So all that gold that you spewed gone.
hey, everybody that was here, you know, they got all the good stuff. Everybody else didn't. Look
That's
at all
right.
these mother forgers on this call too. I I like you. I like using that term.
Mother
Uh,
forgers. That's
Mother
inappropriate.
forgers. Go forge yourself. I like that hashtag. Uh, so what's up, everybody? Tell me how your week's been going. I'm gonna let everybody, this is gonna be a very open call. I want to hear how everybody's forge is going. Marina, I'm gonna start with you. We're going around the horn today.
It started really well and it's been going really, really well. I have been waiting for it, so for so long. So the first day you just go dun 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 dun, and you overdo everything, and then you can feel your glutes the next morning, and then you do something again, and you just feel completely energized. And I I have to say that I probably have to calm down a little bit, otherwise I will run out of energy. But it's been great because the IPAs I've done obviously the programs. I did a strength one morning, and then I did another move and burn, and but then one day I did something that challenged me, which was Vinyasa yoga an hour. Uh, and that is also a bit of strength, and I haven't done it for a while. So it really was a quite a challenge. So I took that as my IPA for a change.
Yeah.
And today my IPA was a 3.5 hours round on the golf course, carrying my clubs in strong winds. And you know what? I wasn't even tired, and my legs were just sort of going, and it was a fantastic feeling. So yeah, and yeah, 2 minutes cold showers, easy peasy, and you feel really energized. And as you said, it feels like cheating when you've done everything. I mean, I didn't do it today before 1:30. I'd done everything, but normally, if you do it by midday, you feel like cheating, and you say, "Oh, what am I going to do now?"
Yeah.
No, it's
Overachieving.
great. It's lovely. It's great. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
You really do. Like, you get it all done. And if you do it early, then it's kind of like, okay, the only thing I have the rest of the day is just not cheating on my diet or drinking alcohol. That depending on,
That's
where
easy
you are in
peasy.
your journey, that can be super easy. Right. And so it's like, whoa, okay, maybe what else can I do today? Is there something else I could add on or something? And yeah, I mean, I do find myself feeling a little bit like I feel like I should be doing more. And
Mm,
so then it kind of pushes you
mm.
on it. I thought it's pretty cool when you do that. That was one of the big things during 75 hard too, when a buddy and I, we were going back and forth, and he started after me, and I'm like, dude, just get everything done as early as possible. Just check it off your list. And I mean, how applicable is that to everything? You know, any
Right.
goal that you're trying, I've got 20 emails to get to. Well, if you can crank those emails out super early in the day, then you don't have, you can either do more or call more people or whatever you're trying to do. But the sooner you get your tasks knocked off the list, it's like, cool, then I can just do whatever I want with the rest of my time. And honestly, I think that's the key to being very successful, is have your tasks that you have to do. That's step number one, is you have to know what those are, but then knock them out as early as possible. And then you can screw off the rest of the day.
Yeah. But the sad thing was, I looked at my watch at 2:30 UK time, and I thought that I think it might be 8:30 Central Time at the moment. And blimey, if they are in the gym now, did you go? Did the crew go to the gym 8:30 today?
No, so that's gonna be Sunday mornings.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
So I
just
don't need
Sunday.
to feel bad every day. It's only on
Not, don't,
Sunday mornings.
no, you don't have to feel bad every day. And there's no way that I'm showing up every single day to do a training session with
No.
everybody every single day at 7:30 in the morning. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And Rhino, I don't know if you're gonna be able to join us on any of those, but 7:30 Sunday mornings. I know a couple people here in St. Louis are definitely planning on coming. I think that's gonna be cool too. We'll definitely shoot some video and share that on social media and everything. But I thought it was just a good way to kind of keep up some camaraderie and introduce some people to each other, and then share some of that in the Facebook group and even share the workouts that we do, maybe, so people have a little bit of guidance there too. But no, we're not doing that every single day for sure.
Oh man, now that's a commitment. Doing that
That's-
for
Yeah.
40 days. Yeah, I just looked at our calendar. We've got indoor soccer Sunday morning, so I'm up for that one. I'll have to find that's my priority apparently in life.
Apparently,
Is kids soccer. Could be a
You're here
lot
to-
worse than that.
here to drive kids to soccer practice.
Oh, it's pretty
Yeah.
great.
What else is going on? Let's see. Gym class. Are you currently forging?
I have delayed my start to hopefully next week because tomorrow morning I have the opportunity of a lifetime to go in for double hernia surgery,
Oh,
Oh
which has
boy.
been put off for years. And so I was talking to the surgeon. And he said, I would avoid the forge till you get till next week, but I think there'll be some of it I can do on a limited basis, but the meditation part. So I got to just figure out what exercise they're going to give me exercises to do. And so I'll be doing that at about 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. I'll be in La La Land for a few hours.
Oh,
all
boy.
right, man. We'll be thinking of you.
Good
Yeah,
luck
say
with
your
that.
prayers. That's good. Yep.
And take it slow. Don't
Yeah.
jump back in.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
But
If I know you though, you probably recruited your surgeon and he's probably doing the forge now.
well, I try to get
Proxy.
all my family up in Chicago to get in on it, but they haven't responded yet. So, but the neat thing about that is that you got to just practice those disciplines, and there's a moratorium on you can't vacuum at home after that during recovery. So I got to keep that in mind, and then you're able to ease into it, and then you got to watch how you travel time. So I figured I'd use the winter time to get the surgery done, and then be ready for spring. So
Awesome. Well, good luck to you on that. And
thank
and
you,
obviously, we'll be thinking of you
Yeah.
for sure.
thank you.
Yeah. Smart man. Do this stuff in the winter.
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I'm trying to go to St. Simon's Island in late February, so
Oh
right
man.
around the Gulf.
Ah, Adam Wainwright land.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's a neighbor of my daughter. So,
Oh, cool. What course will you play out there?
well, there's Frederica, which
Mhm.
is a private club, and they're members there. And then I played last year. It's called the retreat course, and that's one of the courses I think they use for the RSM call the first couple days, and so I'll probably play that again, and possibly Seaside,
Oh, sweet.
which is I played
Yeah.
Seaside years ago, and beautiful, and that's with a caddy on that course. So
Okay.
that's neat.
Here, check this out, Jim. Let me see if I can get it in here. That's the Frederica flag right there.
Oh yeah,
Look at
wow!
that.
How did
Top
that
left?
cross
Yeah.
your?
Top left. So
Have you-
very good friend and former client of mine has been a longtime member there,
Okay,
and hasn't taken me down there yet, but brought me a flag back.
okay, that's a good start.
But no, I've heard really, really great things about Frederica and just obviously
Yeah,
the whole Sea Island area.
oh, it's an amazing place.
There's a reason why there's a lot of tour players that hang out down there.
That's correct. Yes,
Awesome.
good.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? I'm not going to really pull everybody in if everybody doesn't want to share, but anybody want to unmute themselves and talk about their journey on the forge so far for those of you that are,
Yeah, John Shepard.
that are
Come
in the
on
mix?
down.
There's
Yeah,
Shep.
come
Look
on
at this
in.
guy.
You get something now.
Kind of terrible timing. No, I already got my workout in today, and I had time for a walk, so I'm walking, double dipping a little bit today.
Nice.
No, so Forge is going good. I guess the newness hasn't worn off, so I'm like really excited to do things and get my list checked off. I'm waiting a little bit too late in the day to take a cold shower, so it's a little hard to go to bed at night. But yeah, other than that, everything's going good. The immediate weight loss is amazing, but knowing that it's just water and it's going to level out here pretty soon is is good, and that's when the stuff gets real for me. I think that's when the newness wears off, is when you aren't losing a pound a day. So
Yeah, that's not normal, chef, to lose a pound a day when you're
well,
not
it is.
800 pounds.
I feel like when I was well, one of the 4 times I was about ready to be a dad, like you get all that nesting in, and my nesting phase for this was just boozing and eating. So I had it to lose for sure. So
Some would call this a bit of a detoxing phase.
yeah, that might be it. I don't have the shakes or anything, but that's close enough. I'll take the weight loss.
I love it.
Oh,
love
yeah.
it.
The Christmas and New Year's is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
is.
there's a reason why everybody's ready for something come January 1st, right? Obviously, the change of the calendar, but those holidays smashed together pretty much from Thanksgiving through New Year's can be a very difficult time. So I think everybody's ready for it. Shep, I've been thinking a lot about your comment last week about just, trying to not get complacent with doing this again. And, the idea that, oh, I've already kind of completed this and accomplished this. And how do we keep from doing that? I think that, and again, not to kind of leave people out, but for those of us that are in St. Louis, I think that those Sunday morning workout sessions are going to be kind of a cool boost, and hopefully we can find a way to then push that out to the group in some way where they get the kind of the same feeling, or, because I think we're going to have several people here, and that's the whole idea. Bring people together in this community that are all kind of moving towards the same thing, right? So if we get a bunch of people in here doing these workouts, they're going to be talking about their experience, talking about the Forge. And I want to then share that with the rest of the crew. I think that's going to be a pretty cool little piece to keep sparking that along, and, almost kind of get everybody amped up a little bit more to push themselves a little bit harder. So I'm hoping that you can make it, and a lot of the folks here in St. Louis can make it.
Yep. No, I'm hoping to make it as well. We have an 8 o'clock youth sports event that morning, basketball. But we have 2 drivers in the house, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I would hate to show up at one of those and be out and have to hang my head in shame if I showed up. So that will keep me going for the week for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like a public caning.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I saw one of those at the Lake of the Ozarks a few years back.
I don't even know what that means.
With our buddy Slick Rick from Wichita, and the
Oh yeah, that was more than a few years ago.
did I say 10? That might have been 20 years ago.
That was my bachelor party, so 18 years ago.
Man, that's
We're
just
old.
that's how smart guys are, hitting each other with a cane out of a vase.
Bamboo cane. We don't need to go any further with that story.
It only goes downhill from there.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
Anybody else on here want to share their experience?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, it's been a great week. Marina, I'm with you. I've been overachieving as well with the so I walk every morning, so that's an IPA every day, and then I've lifted weights every day so far, which I enjoy doing. And then we've taken a second walk at night every night. So I'm kind of 3xing it. And then I was just talking to Jeff about doing a bike trip, and then I'll just get on the bike every night as well. Just to, if I can keep this 3-day going for, probably not weightlifting 7 days a week, but at least 2 to 3 days a week for 40 days, that would be something else.
Yeah, go ahead, Marina.
Yeah, I find it quite addictive, actually, because I've started, because of you two going out for morning walks, I've started going out on my morning walks, and it's actually become quite like a power walk for me. It's about half an hour, but I don't count it as my IPA. My IPA is the strength or real challenge, but it just sort of makes your whole day, it set up the day really nicely. To do that before breakfast, you're full of energy, and then you can start. But and I find doing these exercises, you want more, as you said, Jeff. You feel, when you've done it, you think, oh, can I do something else, or what shall I do now? You know, if you have the opportunity to do so. So yeah, it is very addictive, and you do add on, don't you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, just like you, we've been doing so many of these things the entire time. It almost seems not too easy, but just more routine than it certainly was the first time we went through this stuff.
Yeah. So it's funny. Ryan and I have a cousin who, I guess about a year ago, quit drinking alcohol. And he sent me a text yesterday and he said, "Hey, my wife just showed me what your 40-day forge thing is." And he's like, "Isn't it funny how the only thing that would really give me a challenge on there is," I think he said oh no, he said would be the cold showers. And I'm like, because which if you knew him 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like
1 year ago, right?
yeah, really over 1 year ago, it's amazing how he wouldn't have been able to do much of this. And he's changed his life around so much and his habits over the past 2 years that now it's easy for him. And so I think that for anybody that is watching this, that is really struggling with the forge, by all means, please know that we understand that it is difficult to do. It's very difficult to get in the mindset, to get your routine set and your diet and all of that. So if you're hearing us talk about things being easy, we understand that it wasn't always easy for us. And so I don't want to kind of like make people think that we feel like this is an easy challenge. But the point here is that when you do then hit that habit or have those habits and those start to become ingrained, it starts to feel easy. And so that should be something that really kind of almost perks you up as a huge positive to the fact that this might seem really hard right now, but as you do this once, if you do this again, or as you just start to move towards making these better habits, eventually you look back and you're like, man, that wasn't as hard to get past as I thought it was. And that really kind of falls in line with what I wanted to talk about today is, you know, the forge, the tasks really, if you broke it down, each one individually are just simple things to do. Some are difficult to kind of get your head around to make the decision to do them. But if you just had to do one of these, it'd be pretty simple to check off your list, right? The point is that doing these consistently is where the habits really become built. And that's when habits simply become easy things, easy actions, if you've done them so many times over and over again. And so, you know, like Marina, when I hear you talk about how, I mean, most of this is what you do on a daily basis now, right? Ryan, same thing. So many of us several years ago, they wouldn't have been. And so just
Oh no.
remember that continuing the repetition of it. It's the repetition. I don't remember who said it. I think it was George Patton said, you know, it's not the plan, it's the execution of the plan, pretty much. Like you don't have to have the perfect plan. You just have to execute a plan, and it's going to work. Something's going to get better out of that situation. I totally butchered the way that he said it. It was way cooler when you see how he said it. But really, it's those little things. Something that along the lines of how you start to want to challenge yourself a little bit more. I'm going to warn you, I'm going to put this into your head, and this may never leave your head, and you might curse me for doing this, but I found myself doing this last year. I've heard Andy Frisella talk about this, like, you know, on or off 75 hard, but every now and then you'll be in a situation where maybe you're doing cardio, maybe you're doing a workout, maybe you're, you know, going for a run, maybe you're in a cold shower, and you think about challenging yourself a little bit harder. And so I've kind of adopted Andy's rule that if I think about something that I can do that's a little bit harder, I have to do it. So like if I'm in the cold shower, and I'm doing it for a minute, and I'm like, well, I should probably do it for 2 minutes. I'm like, damn it, now I got to do it for 2 minutes, you know, kind of. So, you know, I'll just use him as an example. He will talk about how if he's doing cardio for 45 minutes, he might tell himself like, man, I should probably do this for an hour today. And then he has to do it. rule is you can only do that to yourself once. Otherwise you could be on that treadmill for, or whatever, for forever.
Right.
But, just kind of thinking about like little ways, it's almost like a sinister little trick that you can now implement into your head that, damn it, I kind of challenged myself to do it. Now I got to do it. And obviously within reason, but, so I every now and then I find myself in the shower, the cold shower, like, son of a gun. I'm just doing the 1 minute. And then I got to ramp it up to 2 or whatever. And, so now I already heard Marina's already doing 2-minute cold showers this year instead of the requisite 1. So,
But I have to say, this morning I did the 1 minute and it was so damn cold, and I thought I got to do this other minute. I've told myself to do 2 minutes because I want to challenge myself more this time. But in fact, when you've done 1 minute, your body gets so used to it. So the second minute isn't that bad, but it was just that little hurdle, that little thought that came in the mind, oh, shall I just do the 1 minute today? And I thought, no, damn, no, I said it to myself, I'm going to do 2. So I did 2.
Well, here's something interesting, and John Shepard will appreciate this because John's the one that turned me on. He and a couple other people turned me on to the Huberman Lab podcast, and Dr. Huberman talks about the cold showers, cold plunges, and he mentions the fact that cold showers aren't nearly as beneficial as a cold plunge, but one of the biggest benefits is the fact that I think he calls them walls. Getting yourself over certain walls. And it's that right there where even like, let's say you're going for 5 days straight and you're doing 2-minute showers. No problem. Don't have a problem doing it. And then you get in the 6th day and after a minute, you're like, man, I just don't want to do this, but you force yourself to do that. He calls that getting over a wall. And he said that those are actually scientifically based. Those are actually hurdles that help build up that mental resilience and mental toughness, more so than the 2-minute shower that you took that you had no trouble finishing it all the way out. So he talks about, getting yourself over these different walls, and some days are good, some days are bad. But it's the days that I don't want to work out, that you still then go and do your workout. That's why you get that extra little boost afterwards, because you're like, shit, I just did something that I really didn't want to do. It's easy to go work out when you feel like working out. Just like we talked about last week, it's easy to go lift weights when you want to go lift weights, but it's hard to go do the mobility exercises when you really don't want to do those, and take your time to do those. So those little mental hurdles or mental walls are super important when it comes to building that resistance and building that mental toughness.
Yeah, right now we're all kind of still riding the momentum wave.
Yeah, totally.
Which is fleeting. Next week or 2 weeks from now, when we start talking about this, like, oh God, 3 days sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do this. When the world starts to, again, once the momentum disappears, and it will, it always does.
Well, I have a feeling that, for many people, when Friday hits, and that's when the alcohol piece is really going to start to kick in, right? Like, oh,
Right.
shoot, like, what am I, it's Friday night. What am I going to do? Or it's Saturday. What am I going to do? Or I got to go out to dinner, or I'm going to this party. And, that's when you're really faced with it. Day 1 through day 5. Yeah. Your momentum's riding pretty high. Most of the people, if you start on Monday and you go through Friday, not that big of a deal. Maybe you're skipping out on a glass of wine at dinner, or maybe, you had some plans with friends or whatever, but it's like, okay, I can get through that. But yeah, a whole weekend. I know a lot of people will probably fall off sometime this weekend or next weekend or the following weeks.
Right. But Budweiser Zero, that's the way to go.
It was difficult at the golf club today, not talking about the Friday wine coming up, but at the golf club today, the lady captain was offering to everybody some chips and sandwiches. Normally, those chips are so lovely. They're chunky and they are really lovely. I normally have a few of them when they go around. This time I said, no, thank you. And all these ladies said, come on, Marina, there's nothing of you. I had my Chimera leggings on changing downstairs, and they were saying, Marina, you don't eat anything, do you? So, you know, they tried to push me. The one that I had played with, she knew about my forge. And she said, no, leave her alone. She can't do it. And I said, thanks, Julie. But it was, you know, you could smell it, you know. And I said, no, thank you.
Yep.
But they're a tough one.
Well, and you had Julie right there. You knew that Julie knew about you doing the forge, so there's no way you're going to back down.
Yeah.
Now all these other ladies might know that, oh, well, Marina's doing this. And I would venture to say that if they find out what you're actually doing, you're going to get some questions over the next couple of weeks about what you're doing, because obviously they already see you and they're like, well, she's super fit. She's a great golfer. She's doing something that maybe I should think about doing, you know? And so then all of a sudden you start to get some questions about it, which I think is the cool part. That's where, you know, you can be the inspiration for the people around you. And people start to ask questions about, you know, oh my gosh, or they'll start talking. They'll start asking Julie about what's that thing that Marina's doing? Tell me more about it. You know,
it's interesting how difficult it is for people to get over that hurdle to actually start with something like this. I've gone on to. We have several pros in the pro shop, and one of them goes to the gym occasionally. I said, okay, I can send you something really interesting, and I think you would really enjoy it. I sent the link to the forge, and he thought it was absolutely fantastic, or it was really interesting. Did he do anything about it? No action. And it's really weird how it can be so difficult to take action on something like it. It's free of charge. It doesn't cost anything. I can't understand it.
Well, that's interesting that you put it that way, because in our brains, it costs a lot, right? It's free of charge. There's no money involved, but it's going to cost, you know, time where you have to put into basically it costs you commitment. It costs you the fact that, okay, well, I'm committing to now spending time in the gym. I'm committing to now, you know, doing something with my diet that I probably should do. I've been wanting to do, but shoot, I really want to do it? Because if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It's going to cost them, you know, maybe the social piece of drinking alcohol with their friends. So there is a huge cost to it, but obviously I would like to say that it's more of an investment, right? It's an investment in yourself, but that decision can be a scary, daunting thing, because you're finally facing yourself in the mirror saying like, all right, here's the shit that I've been doing. I'm saying I'm not going to do it anymore. And that can be scary. We've all been there, right? We've all had something that we want to do. We call them competing commitments. It's a term that I learned from an organization called Clemmer and Associates. Ryan and I went to a couple courses through them. It's like a professional development, self-development seminars. And it's called competing commitments. You want one thing, but that one thing goes against something else that you want. So easiest example is, well, I want to lose weight. Well, I also want that bag of chips. And typically the lose weight is going to take longer than the bag of chips. The bag of chips is going to be immediate gratification. The losing weight is going to be a much longer task. So that seems way far away. So that's why most of us just fall into the trap of, well, I want it now. I want to feel good now. So it's that whole being able to delay immediate gratification for long-term satisfaction, long-term goals, long-term achievement. And so that's where the difficulty comes in, because yes, it sounds great. I'm reading the list of the forge. I'm reading what they're talking about. Yeah, I want to be stronger. I want to be mentally stronger. I want to be more fit to go play golf, you know, in the spring when it hits. And then it's like, there's a pint of beer. I would love to drink that pint of beer right now. I'm going to go do that, because that's easier than all the shit that I'm going to have to do to get to where I say I want to go. I'm not sure if I can get there. And then, you know, you have all these doubts about yourself, all these doubts about what you can accomplish, how long it's going to take you, what effort you're going to have to put in. I'll think about that tomorrow. Today, I'm going to have that pint of beer.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah. It is.
I kept telling myself when I first started this, or before I decided to do this the first time, it was, I'm a numbers guy, and I'm like, this is only 11% of my year. Like, it's only 11%. So 89% of the rest of the year, I can have a beer whenever I want, and it's only 11%. So it's
Well,
nothing.
Yeah, and plus, Shep, you don't seem like the type who drinks every single day either. So within that 40 days, there
You
are
didn't
what?
see me over break.
in a normal time period. But yeah, so even I thought this too, Shep, where it's like within those 40 days where there are 5 weekends, and that's, let's say you drink beers Friday and Saturday. So that's 210, that's 10 days out of 365 days out of the year. So whatever that number is, that I could figure it out real quick.
Yeah, when you start really breaking it down, it's like, man, it's not that.
3%, Spilly.
It's
I'm
not
an
that.
idiot. Yeah, you smooth the zero, smooth the decimal point.
It's not. Yeah, it's not that much. Shep, when did you do the Forge last year?
I feel like I started kind of halfway through Lent. So I could blame the first half on Lent, and then the next 20 days or so was after Lent.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you weren't in like the New Year's.
No,
it was later.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool because that just goes to show like there weren't nearly as many people doing this when John was. I know that another buddy of ours named John started doing it right around the time that you did, because I kind of introduced you guys. And but yeah, he wasn't doing it when we had, dozens of people or however many people are doing it, a Facebook group where people are really interacting. And so I thought that was awesome because you kind of did it alone, but still stuck to it, held to your guns and were able to accomplish it. But you saw some significant changes, which was amazing.
It was good.
Shepherd, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Last year, when you started, you took your weight, obviously, and at the end of Forge, how much did you lose? And in the year till now, have you gained back all the weight that you lost during Forge? And how are the figures looking this year compared to last year?
So this is me looking for my last Forge. So I kept my Forge thing on my desk all year. So I started at like 214, ended up around 201. So I think it was 13 pounds, something like that. And Jeff can tell you how obsessed I was with my weight. And that was what I mainly did it for. And I'd say throughout the year after that, I kept it off for the most part, maybe 2 or 3 pounds now, minus the last 2 weeks of the year. Stressful time of life, and being without water for a while, it was stressful. So I maybe indulged a little bit. So I'm starting this one out at a bloated 209.6, but we're already down to 205. So
that's pretty good. Really, really shows you what Forge can do, in the long term.
Yeah.
I've got the before and after pictures if you want.
I remember a few of those pictures you posted.
I wouldn't do that to you, Shep. It was funny last year how many pictures of half-naked men I was texted from friends of mine. It's like, guys, I hope nobody cracks into my phone because this is going to look really weird.
Yeah, way more than usual.
Yeah, way more.
So really, like big picture is let's just say you're starting at 205 because you really kind of are because you're just bloated and whatever. So you're starting at what was that 9 pounds better than you were?
Yeah.
I mean, less than a year ago. So you keep like 1 step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps, and you just keep going down. Then your new normal is going to be 190 before you know it.
Oh man, if I broke 200 in December because I got sick and didn't eat anything for 5 days. It was like, oh man. So I've got 195 in my head, hopefully, and we'll see what happens.
Cool.
Not taking stock into how much I weigh.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll say that Shepherd's been fun to watch for the last. John, when did you run your first marathon?
2014.
From 2014 to now, the change that this guy has made just physically is amazing. What were you at your heaviest, Shep?
So the day I started running was pretty much 2 months before my first daughter was born. I was 280 pounds,
Wow.
Jeez.
275, something like that.
I didn't guess that high. That's crazy.
I carried it well.
You sure did. Well
So-
distributed across your body.
So, I mean, I just have to applaud you for just the years and years that, but what I love about John is like, he just keeps learning. He just keeps wanting to learn more. For instance, turning me on to this Huberman Lab podcast, and I'll get questions from him about, cold therapy and stuff like that. It's like, it's awesome to see just the progression of, I think the progression of everybody when they start to dig into how much better they feel physically when they do whatever. I mean, for Shep, it started out with running, right? And now I know that he's very much into learning about strength training and proper ways of doing it. And like he said, it's not about the weight loss for him necessarily, because I know that he's looking more at, body fat percentage and muscle. And so it's not just about getting on the scale and dropping his poundage. So I just think it's a testament to when you do start to build up some of these habits and start to see the benefits, really how it can take you down these rabbit holes, and really different, life experiences. John started out with running a marathon, then ended up owning a shoe company where he was working with different running shoe companies in St. Louis and became the running shoe guy here in town. And it's like, it's just really cool to see. Again, going back to our theme, when you just start to build in simple little things, how they can totally grow and take you places that you don't even expect. And it doesn't have to be some elaborate. I think sometimes we get caught up in the complexity schemes of, what's the best way to do this, or what are the minute details. And eventually you can get into that. Like we talked about with the podcast that we're listening to, like Dr. Huberman goes into the details and the science of why these things work and brings on guests that really take you into these, really small corners of performance. But you don't start there. You start with going out and walking every morning, or you start with doing your 40 minutes of activity every single day, or you start with your EFDs and just start there. I mean, how many people do we all know that if you could magically take a wand and force them to do the EFDs every day, how much better they would feel? How much better they would move, how much more fun they would have on the golf course, to take our golf piece. I played with a guy 2 months ago, and I know that, 20 years ago, this guy was a scratch golfer, and he still, just hits lasers, like just not long, but like you can just tell he's such a better golfer than me, but he's fat and out of shape, and it hurts him to swing a golf club. And so he doesn't score nearly as well as he could. He can't walk 9 holes. He has to take a cart every time he goes and plays. Now he's in his late 60s or 70 years old, but then I was out there with a client of mine. This guy, his name is Paul. My client's name is Greg. I was out there with Greg, who's a client of mine, and Greg's like the poster child of 18 Strong. He, started, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, but he's 74. He loves to carry his bag. He walks 18 holes. He's hitting a ball further now than he was, when we started working together. And it's like, man, these guys are night and day different. And the one guy could be so much better. He'd be so much more happier with his game. He'd feel so much better every single day if he just started to do a few things. And really, had he started doing them 6 years ago when Greg started doing them, where would he be now? Right. So again, it's the whole, just start doing something, keep it simple, but keep it consistent. And, like what right now is the liability that you could turn into your asset. And for that guy, like if he just started to move a little bit better, let's eliminate the restrictions that he has. Let's eliminate the pain that he has. And he'd go out and shoot 5 strokes better every single round.
It's like this young pro at the club. He's probably in his early 30s, late 20s, quite overweight. He came to me today and he said, "Hey, I'm really excited. I signed up with Slimming World, and I went there last night, first time, and I'm really going to lose some weight now. And Nick is going to take me to the gym next Tuesday, show me some exercises." I said, "That's great, Ben, but I got something really, really nice you could try. It's called Daily Motions, and you could just start. It just takes 7 minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes. I'll send a link to you, and you just get little by little. It doesn't take a long time." He said, "Oh, that's great," and
Right.
you just feel that if he would do that, he would actually start going to the gym. He would start, to feel different. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed he will do that.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
That's
you're
awesome.
walking a mile in our shoes, Marina. Like the most frustrating part of having 18 Strong is you see guys like that, like, man, if you just got off your ass for 10 minutes a day, you'd be so much better. You'd be amazed at how great you feel. So hopefully this guy sticks with it for 30 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
And then, okay, and then comes you, well, okay, what's next, Marina? Okay,
Yeah.
go walk or go talk to Bodine. Do
Mhm.
something for God's sakes. Yeah, and it's
Well-
really like back to our, kind of the theme of our call that went off the rails a little bit, where it's, consistency over complexity, Jeff, where it's, and again, I'm convinced that all the complexity, it has its place for the guys like Rory, who, all right, he's working on that last percent, trying to get a half a stroke over a weekend, but for everybody else, I think that's just built in because it's something that's easier to sell. It's the new secret, like how we were talking about P90X earlier, where they didn't create muscle memory stuff. They just called it something, where everybody just markets something that's cooler, that doesn't necessarily really work that well.
Yeah. I mean, it does and it doesn't, right? Like, so obviously marketing is a big piece of our world as well. And sometimes you have to use the marketing to convince somebody to do something, right? And if you can make it a little bit, and it's a fine line, because you can be cheesy and hypey and try to sell all this stuff that really isn't new. But also if you can create a bit of a compelling nature that makes somebody actually do the work, like get the thing and do the work, then that's going to help push them along a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like Ryan said, there's scales to it, right? So like most people, I mean, you got to start with something very simple. Start with something simple, do it consistently. Then once you get to a certain level, walking every day isn't enough. Doing your EFDs every day isn't enough. Okay, now you got to
Right.
move on up to the next level. Now maybe you're doing, and these don't necessarily go linearly either, right? So you start doing your EFDs, you start walking, whatever it is, and maybe you mix in a workout here too. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 strength training days a week, and I'm going to do that consistently. And then you start doing that, and you can do pretty basic things. And really at that level, the lesser your training age, when we say training age, that's kind of like your, if you're a novice in the gym, you have, very low training age. If you're a bodybuilder and you've been doing that for 10 years, you've got a very high training age. But the lower your training age, it's pretty cool, because pretty much anything that you do is going to give you results. If you start walking, if you do cardio, if you start lifting weights, if you start running, jogging, doing sprints, swimming, whatever, at the beginning phases, everything's going to work. And your body will start to, you'll start to lose weight. You might gain a little bit of muscle. You'll increase your balance and your coordination. But then some of that is neurological. Some of that is just your body's getting used to what's going on. And so you see benefits. And that's the cool part, is initially you're definitely going to see benefits. But then the better you get, the longer you train, the harder it is to make improvements. So that's when you got to kind of start ramping things up. You got to start scaling things up, increasing your intensity a little bit, being a little bit smarter with the way that you do those things. Now, most people don't get to a point where they're training 4 or 5 days a week with strength training. They're doing speed training. They're doing all these different things where you have to tweak so much. And that's why we tell people like, hey, focus on the big rocks first. Once you start to do like the basic things like 2-3 days worth of strength training every single week, along with some walking and your EFDs. Once you get that down, then we can talk about getting a little bit more complex and building in some more strategic rep schemes and, you know, what lifts you're doing, things like that. But for the most part, if you stick with the, you know, the push, pull, hinge, lunge, squat, the core and rotational stuff, you stick with that for your workouts. You do that twice a week, 3 times, preferably 3 times a week. You get some walks in, you're going to be good to go. And that's kind of the tone that Ryan and I have tried to take is let's start people there. Once you get that, you can move on. Cause then, then you've got, you know, everybody's not at Rory's level. Obviously Rory has to dial it in super finely in order to make improvements. But then let's say you've got, you know, these high school kids that I work with and they start training 2 days a week, 3 days a week. Okay. They're going to be at a little higher level than, you know, somebody that doesn't. Then you get somebody like when I started working with Hayden Buckley, you know, he was playing collegiate level golf, was working out with the golf team, but still needed some direction, but he needed more structure than, you know, if I was putting my dad on a program, you know, so there's just those different levels to that. And then you have, you know, the guys that now you get a guy like a Hayden, or you get a guy like, you know, Dustin Johnson or a Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau is probably the tip of the spear, right? Like he's the one that's trying every little bitty thing to eat that out. But yeah, that's such a minute. I mean, that's less than the 1%. That's like the 0.001%.
That's crazy percent.
What he does.
Yeah, here's an idea that I've shared with other people. I don't know if it's accurate, but I pull out a dollar bill and I say, if this is your 1 hour of exercise, here's the $5 you prevent paying out for, you know, medical procedures and rehab and all that, and the use of your time, you know. So I think it really, you get a greater return long term.
Yeah,
And
I like that.
you know, and what you're doing now with the audience that you achieve, you know, you're reaching a very meaningful, you know, segment of society in the 30s and 40s and 50s doing this, because later it takes a little bit longer to get going. So,
well, Jim, that's a great point. And to take it back to my buddy Greg, my client Greg, I'll never forget. And we've mentioned this on several calls or email communications, but Greg told me one day, he's like, if I would pay you $1 million if I had the ability, if you had the ability to put me in a time machine and start seeing you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you know. And unfortunately, that's what most guys and gals in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, I think, you know, at my age, 44, you start to kind of think a little bit bigger picture and start to realize, like, you start to look back at what you've done, what you've accomplished, how you've treated your body, those kind of things. But in the 30s, many are, you know, so bogged down with family and work and things like that. 40s still, you know, kind of mindset on building your family, your work, all the other things you have to do that you tend to let yourself kind of slide through the cracks and don't put enough focus on taking care of that. But like you said, Jim, if you could put, it's the compounding interest. If you could put the time in then, very simply, it doesn't have to be crazy hard. Put the time in then, it's going to reap you so many more benefits later on. And I wish we could get that message out a little bit clear, or just to more people to where they actually take it in. You know, if you're a golfer, you don't realize how tough it is. Say you're a 30-year-old golfer you don't realize how shitty it's going to be when you're like Paul and you're 70 years old and you can't
Yeah.
move.
Right.
What that's going to
Yeah.
be like. If there's a way that we could like take them in a time machine and, almost like the Ebenezer Scrooge,
Mhm.
the Ghost of Christmas future, take them into that body, show them what that feels like, and say, no, let's go back. And now if you just do these simple little things, how much that could change.
Yeah. Well, golf teaches us, and it took me a long time to learn this in life. You have to forget the last hole or the last shot,
Oh, for
especially the
sure.
last hole. If you have triple bogey, and now you're on a par 3 and you say, okay, I'm going for the pin, but you got to forget that last hole, and you can't get into that game of would you, if you could you, because that'll tear you up mentally
Mhm.
for years. And I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
so I should have saved more. I should have done this more.
Right.
Just go
Yeah.
for today.
You can only focus on, okay,
Yep.
that's done. I didn't do that back then. All right.
Right.
I'm here. I am where I am. What can I do today to start moving towards the direction that I want to go? What do I need to do today to feel better on the golf course next round?
That's
Not even next year, but next round,
That's
next
right.
week, next month. What can I do to diet wise, eating wise, skill wise? What can I go practice? My putting sucked this week. I haven't put any time into my putting. Well, what can I do today, tomorrow, the next day to make that better the next time that I go out?
Yeah.
Great
I had
point.
I had a meeting yesterday with 2 young clients, your age group. And I said, well, how do you guys manage your business? And he said,
Late 20s, late 20s.
actually, late 40, both of them. This was interesting. Both were graduates of West Point.
Wow.
So they've been they're probably in their 40s, late 30s. And both of them, I said, how do you manage the business? And we go by meal. And I said, pardon me? And they were both overweight. And they said, we're trying to work on getting our weight down, So then I said, well, before we start talking business, let me tell you about 18 Strong. So if I can do it, you guys can do it. So,
Jim brings
Right.
everything to the table.
oh yeah.
It's too bad that the Forge is free, because we could have a pretty sick referral program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
Right.
This is
Well,
ridiculous.
you're doing the right thing, because then it gets people interested in what 18 Strong does. And one thing I've learned is that you get approached by other programs, and I said, thank you, but I've already involved with 18 Strong. I'm staying with these young guys. They're really a lot of fun to listen to, and you learn a lot. So
I
yeah,
appreciate
I
that.
Yeah,
don't know if you
appreciate it.
know this, but you guys did about 2 years ago, your first Zoom video about all the different programs that looked like one of those infomercials, and if you bought this, it would cost you that. And today,
Yeah.
it was amazing. Still have my notes with it.
Well, thank you.
We're learning.
You're doing great.
We appreciate it. That's
Well,
awesome.
one thing that I think is pretty cool as well, because we all got families.
Yeah.
And if you think about Jim, for example, you got grandchildren,
Yeah.
they look up to you and see what you're doing. You're doing Forge. Don't you think that's going to encourage them? And same, Jeff's kiddos probably all do exercises, and so does Rhinos. And we just set examples. And I've been fortunate enough to grow up as a competitive swimmer since I was young. And it's always been in my blood, sort of moving, squash, tennis,
Wow.
gym, always been. And I got my kiddos, and they always seen me active. And they still see me in a good shape, strong. And it's lovely to see the children
Right.
behaving the same way.
Right.
My son was in the gym 6:30 before work the other morning. My daughter lives in Barcelona. She goes to the gym regularly, and so on. And it's lovely to see that it's sort of that you can influence them that way.
That's
I think that is really cool.
Yeah, I know that's a big part of what keeps me going is it kind of started out as I don't want to be the fat dad. And then it kind of morphed into I want to set a better example for these kids so that they stay in good shape and all the good benefits that go along with it. So yeah, that's awesome.
I heard and I don't remember if it was Ed Milet or Tony Robbins or somebody along those lines, but they said that habits aren't taught, they're caught,
That's right.
right?
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
so your kids don't necessarily anybody that has had kids can attest to the fact that when you try to tell them something, teach them something, that can go in one ear and out the other. But when they see you doing it, the thing that you are trying to teach them, they see you actually doing it day in and day out. That's when they really see, like, okay, he's legit when he talks about, working out or eating healthy or whatever. They see that it just kind of becomes natural to them. I've used this example for a long time with my kids. Like, I really don't think my kids know that other kids don't eat broccoli for breakfast. Like
All
it's
right.
just, it's every single morning we have some sort of a vegetable that they have to eat: carrots, cucumbers, celery, broccoli, whatever it is. And, I mean, obviously they're getting older now and wiser, and they're spending the night at other people's houses, but they're probably thinking like, what the hell? We've been eating eggs and broccoli and like all this stuff, and I can come over here and eat cereal and
Donuts.
and we don't we don't try to be the Gestapo on any of that stuff, but it's just kind of a normal thing in our house. Like, hey, did you have your vegetable with whatever meal you're having? Like, that's just normal. And I think that it's really funny when I even talk to adults here in the gym, and they'll tell me what they ate or this or that, and I'm like, well, what vegetable did you have for breakfast? I'm like, vegetable for breakfast? Like, that's a
not
dinner
breakfast food.
thing.
Yeah.
And
Right. Just
like, well,
crazy.
ask my kids, because they eat a vegetable every single morning. So
Well, one tool that I did with our kids and grandkids is the checklist for the forge. I have it on had it on a clipboard. I left it in prominent places in the house when they were coming over. So they would pick it up and say, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, that's what Grandpa's working on." And then my daughters, and they would go, "Oh," and then they would come by a week later and look at how many check marks I'd have done.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
That's
They
awesome.
saw the scoreboard.
that's
perfect.
right.
Very cool.
You guys are doing a wonderful thing for a lot of people. And,
Yes,
it's
indeed.
a-
Yes,
you
you
know,
are. Yeah.
I mean, it's we're us more senior people are real excited for what you guys are doing.
Well,
Yeah,
we
you
really
just keep it up.
appreciate that. We
Yeah,
really appreciate that.
and there's some new stuff coming up too.
Yeah,
You guys will be excited
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I know I'm
Good.
excited about it. I know Jeff's excited about it.
Can't share stuff yet.
Not
Yeah.
yet, but it's gonna
Not a
be
release.
it'll
We'll get
it'll
there.
be something. Yeah,
Can't wait.
you'll enjoy.
that's good.
All right. Well, I know we're a minute or so early, but we've got so many minutes over from previous calls. I think we can go ahead and shut her down a
Yeah,
minute early. Well, hey, as always, we appreciate you guys showing up week in, week out. Everybody on this call knows that if you have any questions about the Forge or really anything, please reach out to Ryan, myself. You see Kendra in the background. Kendra's the bones
Ooh.
behind this whole thing. She keeps this thing running. She keeps us together. But in the Facebook group is the best place to communicate and, help share your experiences, help share your questions, because that's going to help even more people in the Forge and in the 18 Strong community. But we appreciate you guys so much for showing up day in, day out and spreading the word. You guys are the best.
great.
I agree. All right.
All right.
All right,
Catch you
guys.
next week.
See you next
take
week.
care. See you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.